So this is the 2120 GMT edition, part D in order, serial order of today, Sunday the 11th of December 2022, the KHOODEELAAR television channel, broadcasting on the internet under the banner of the baby angel Geronimo. Baby angel Geronimo is the guiding witness to all the things that are going wrong in Britain and anyone who supports the British government and its agencies. Today, the Sunday Times, what is the Sunday Times leading with? Let's go to the Sunday Times. And then, well, it has got, curiously, there is a letter with the Sunday Times. It's from the Crisis. And it says it's a charity. And it says, together, we will end homelessness. Crisis UK trading as Crisis. Registered charity numbers. There are two numbers. One is for Scotland, one for England. And company registration number is 40,0024938. If you have already given to Crisis this Christmas, thank you. And please pass this on to a friend who might want to help too. World Land Trust, that is carbonbalancedprint.com, fundraising regulator, registered with fundraising regulator FR. Now, Crisis is the one that is currently trading as the trendier one in terms of advertising and appeals to this kind of courage within the newspapers. This Christmas, will you stand with someone who is homeless? Where do we begin? We don't want to stand with someone who is homeless. Before we do that, we want to question these assumptions. Who is homeless this Christmas? Now, the assumptions underlying Crisis. At a mid-1980s event held at the St. Bride's Church off Fleet Street, London EC4, I had a raging row with the racist Des Wilson. Des Wilson, the criminal, claimed, absolutely without foundation and without having any idea as to who I was, except that to him I was an Asian person. Fair enough. But from then on, the racist criminal from New Zealand descended. He said, I helped your people, and I have been helping your people who have been homeless. Fuck the racist New Zealand bastard. He had not. He didn't know who I was, and he didn't know what my question was about. Des Wilson, the racist, was a career Lib Dem, a Lib Demmer. Well, he's no longer, because I think he's retired long since then. Or maybe he has passed away, I don't know. But this criminal, Des Wilson, was overhyped by the Fleet Street newspapers and the media for coming to the rescue of the homeless people. And the name Shelter, which is what started me, because Crisis is a second name Shelter was the one that was doing the business, promoting its so-called charitable activities for homeless people. Shelter is a criminal outfit. As I've said before, all these big charities in the United Kingdom are criminal outfits. They do help people like the homeless, but that help is only a fraction of what they actually are about. They collect information, they spy, and by being a non-profit outfit, they maintain the status quo of criminality, of denial of responsibility by society to provide people with decent housing. Everyone. That is what they have been stopping from happening. Crisis is doing the same thing, and shelter has been doing it for longer. And the fact that this envelope is contained in the Sunday Times package shows the hypocrisy. I mean, the Sunday Times says journalism. The editorial line of the Sunday Times and the Times newspaper, they don't give a fuck about the real reasons for millions of people being inadequately housed and hundreds of thousands being homeless permanently in this country. And that is where I'll put the introduction there just for the time being. And this is the kind of thing that Baby Angel Geronimo witnesses. Baby Angel Geronimo knows that behind the facade and the pretension, like the confession by the liar, George Injustice Eustace, in the middle of November when he spoke in the House of Commons after being demoted or ousted as a minister because of Liz Truss having by then taken over. He confessed that now that he was no longer a minister, he would not do the gloss. That is to say, he said that he could tell lies before as minister. But now that he is no longer a minister, he didn't have to tell lies. And one of the first lies that the criminal George Injustice Eustace reportedly confessed to having done is the promotion of the Brexiteering deal, trade deal with Australia and New Zealand, the miracle Brexit benefit, Brexit profit, whatever. And he said that it wasn't as good for the United Kingdom, the agreement, as it should have been. This fucker, the liar, was one of the promoters of that lying deal. But now he says that it wasn't as good for Britain as it should have been. But that's not the only one. All the other Brexiteering liars are confessing that the severe economic impact the UK is having is going to get worse. And one single element that dare not speak its name is Brexit. And these fuckers lied. And the criminal Boris Johnson, who adopted somebody else's slogan, it wasn't his, let's get Brexit done. He got Brexit done by lying. Lying about Turkey, lying about millions of Muslims ready to take over, poison, invade Britain. It's like 100 times over the migrants crossing the channel. The Turks, the scenario was that the Turks, the Muslims, the Turkish was not, Turks were not as bad as Turks if they were not Muslims. But these Turks are Muslims. And that's where the catch was. Lying Johnson wanted to terrify the Little Englanders, the zombified Little Englanders who actually voted for Brexit, into thinking, into believing, into getting shocked and frightened at the prospect of Muslims taking over Britain, Muslims entering Britain, because Britain was a member of the European Union and Turkey was about to get membership of the European Union. That is the lie, various stages, various segments of the lies that the liar Boris Johnson perpetrated, inflicted on the people in the weeks before the actual so-called referendum in June 2016. And these Little Englanders voted. And the truth is that Turkey will never become a member of the European Union because it's not just Britain. The European Union is mainly made up of member countries whose governments, whose politicians are very hostile to Muslims. Doesn't matter whether it's England or Britain or the UK, the other parts of the European Union are as hostile to Muslims as they can be or could be. So they would never allow Turkey to even apply for testing eligibility to become member of the European Union. And even if they were allowed to test the eligibility, it would take decades. By then, long after the liar Boris Johnson would have died, along with all the others, criminals that lied in June 2016. So Boris Johnson is the liar that is being witnessed by baby angel Geronimo. As the lies are perpetrated and as the lies are being examined, as their impact is felt, the lies that Boris Johnson confected are being examined, and the people don't like what they find. And even George Eustace, the depraved DEFRA, Secretary of State, the criminal, who signed all these lies that Christian middle evilness, Christian evilness, the chief bet, signed the lies against baby angel Geronimo, and George Eustace, injustice, signed them, and the criminal Boris Johnson aided and abetted them and pushed them to go ahead with the demonization of the most innocent baby angel Geronimo in the whole world, the most healthiest baby angel Geronimo on the whole world. So this is the KHOODEELAAR television channel broadcasting under the banner of the baby angel Geronimo editions. We've got other things that we can talk about. For example, the name Harry. I mean, for Dirty Digger Murdoch's scum, the name Harry has been a dirty name. That is Harry Windsor. But today, the scum on Sunday is actually in solidarity with the Harry. This is Harry Kane. Skipper Harry Kane was left devastated last night after his dramatic penalty miss saw England crash out of the World Cup 2-1 against France. The Three Lions ace blasted a late chance to equalize over the bar. Boss Gareth Southgate consoled gutted Kane as millions watching back home shared the agony. But for days and weeks, the same scum newspaper and news group overhyped the England team's potential victory against the French. And they mocked the French by distorting their words and having a go at them. This is the thing that the lying Brexiteering racists always get wrong. They should not have overhyped the England team. But they did. They can't help it. It's in their racist, their criminal genes. They can't help it. It's not the evidence that they're basing it on. It's their genetic propensity to lie, to overhype, etc., etc. And here is the admission of the Sunday Times on front page. Brexit will bill on ice amid hopes of New Year deal with EU. Fuck them. Fuck the shits. What deal with EU? The EU was depicted by the liar Boris Johnson and other criminals as the equivalent of an atmosphere, of an environment like hell. And Britain could not get out of the EU fast enough. And now they're saying that the Brexit bill on ice, there was a Brexit bill, that is to say, there was a bill that was supposed to be pushed through the House of Commons, House of Parliament, reinforcing Brexit and the terms and the culture and all the bonfire of the European Union laws. But here it's a concession. It has been put on ice amid hopes. Hope and the EU never matched, did they? And here is the Sunday Times matching the two. New Year deal with the EU. They should not be writing this. They should be saying that let's prepare for the prosecution of the criminal Boris Johnson and other liars. Now, the main Sunday Times front page, of course, is it's all over for England. Again, that is all over for England. After Harry Kane shoots over the crossbar from the penalty spot. And he misses. And the report is by Josh Clancy, Al Bayat Stadium, Qatar. And this is the first paragraph of the Josh Clancy report. That familiar fizzle, we are going home. Football isn't. Nearly man, it was an honorable defeat to France. A closely matched, nerve-jingling affair. A Harry Kane penalty was the difference between the two teams, but it was a 2-1 defeat nonetheless. It is impossible to shake that nagging sense that England are never quite good enough when it matters. Can you believe that sentence? It is impossible to shake that nagging sense that England are never quite good enough when it matters. Fuck the Boris Johnson and the DEFRA criminals that lied and lied and lied. It's like India's Narendra Modi boasting to a group of foreign businesses that had made a deal with an Indian manufacturing kind of company. And the following day, The Times of India gave the picture a caption heading, quoting in summary, of course, because it's heading, so it had to be abbreviated and kind of shortened. The Modi was quoted as saying in that Times of India report, the India is now dependable, respected, and dependable, predictable kind of efficiency in technological advances and technological achievements and activities. Next to that headline on the Times of India was a picture of the bridge, the hanging bridge that collapsed, killing a large number of people that had innocently got on the bridge and the bridge collapsed. Both events took place in Gujarat. Now, you could not make it up. That bridge had not been the specimen of India's dependable, futuristic, technological abilities, as Modi, criminal, was boasting to these people and shaking hands, maybe 70 miles away from where this bridge collapse happened. And here, it's the same kind of this sentence. It's impossible to shake that nagging sense that England are never quite good enough when it matters. Of course, they're not. Because the England that is typically represented by the Englishman, like the liar Boris Johnson, born in New York in the USA, they are liars. They are liars and the liars and the liars, as is Narendra Modi in India. And the fragmentation of the Brexit lies is going on. Now, here is a so-called investigative piece, pages 16 and 17, which actually unmasks the prostitute Michelle Monin and other criminals and prostitutes. And it says, unmasked, and it says in the descriptive subheading, in the panic during the first COVID wave, hundreds of firms were swiftly given contracts to supply medical protective gear. They were paid £7.4 billion, but much of the equipment ended up unused. These British-based firms got the biggest deals. This is the PPE reach list. Because the Sunday Times publishes a reach list usually, but this is the reach list of the crooks and the whores and the pimps. And they've got absolutely the full details in there, which is what vindicates what I had said earlier when reading about the French beating the England team at the World Cup, despite Harry Kane's being heroic and heroically kind of over promoted. And all these criminals, the COVID rich list criminals, all supported Brexit one way or the other. And all are fanatic, Englishistic criminals. So this is part D. We shall be going into more details in part E. And we shall stop this one at 25 minutes, 25 minutes, yes.